Welcome to SELINTalks, podcast initiative by SELINClub. I'm Shruti Verma, your host, and in today's episode, we are speaking with Dr. Meenakshi Gupta, an educator and school leader with 28 years of experience. She's an executive member of MPSC and GIEM, and a Microsoft Innovative Education expert and trainer. Bringing innovative teaching practices to the classroom, currently Dr. Gupta is the principal of ST Public School in Patel Nagar, Delhi, making a significant impact on education with her contribution to the field, being recognized by her peers. Welcome to Selling Podcast. How are you doing today otherwise?
Good.
So I've been reading a lot about you, and you hold about 28 years of experience from being a PGT teacher, then a coordinator, then vice principal, then principal, and you do a lot of teacher training. Was this career path actually defined for you?
I would say not exactly because my father was a journalist.
Oh,
Initially, when I did my English honors, I was thinking of joining journalism as my career. Uh,
right.
but then, over a period of time, actually, I lost my father when I was in college. And then I went for MA. And by that time, suddenly I realized one fine day when I was giving coaching to one of the student in my neighborhood, I realized that, spreading the knowledge that I have with me, that is really giving me a lot of satisfaction. So it is not about being inquisitive, but it is about sharing. That is
Right.
my forte. So then I shifted to teaching. I thought it is better that I go to shifting because a real teacher is a researcher all the time.
Very true.
So
Yeah.
the inquisitiveness to know more and more and more and more was, something which was fundamental on in me to be a teacher. And then that passion of sharing what I have with the others, so that lead me to this. And of course credit goes to my lecturers in my college, especially my head of the department, Dr. Garg, who told me, no, Meenakshi, you should go for B.Ed. I know you are made to be a teacher. So that point when my teacher identified a talent in me, which I myself was not able to. So I thought that's a power that a teacher has. So let me also try to get that.
So how has it been your journey so far? Like, from you have actually been on the different levels of becoming an educator. It was, going from one place to another place to another place. How has been your journey so far?
Initially I started in a minority school, and it
Right,
was even before my B.Ed result had come, and I was completely new to this field of being a teacher and all that. I
right.
did not even know what is PGT, what is TGT, how much do you get, and all that and all that. A fresh postgraduate from Delhi University, just a person who has appeared for the B.Ed exam, and a lot of idealism in my
Yeah.
head. So I joined a minority school run by Hamdard initially, and they told me, see, we want an English teacher, but right now because your result has not come, so we cannot give you grade. So you will be
Right.
on 3 months, what you call that, some teacher was on maternity leave. At that time maternity leave was for 3 months. So they said, we will take you in her place, but you will be teaching English to 11th and 12th. I said, okay, fine. So that was the beginning. I started, and then gradually I didn't have to ask anything. With the God's grace, after 3 months I was given my proper scale also, and I was teaching. I taught there for more than 6 years, and then I really felt that there is much more to do, and there was some restrictions. Every institution has their own
Yeah.
restrictions. So I thought there is much more that I can do in my field.
Right.
So I thought of going and upgrading myself during that time. So I did my certificate course and diploma course from CFIL, Hyderabad, which is considered as the Oxford of India for the language teacher, English language teacher.
Yeah.
So I went over there. I spent time in hostel, in service. It was uh, online. I mean, not online, but it was a distance mode. So for 1 or 2 months, we used to go to Hyderabad, live in the campus, attend the classes, learned a lot about ELT, English language teaching. And
Mhm.
After doing that diploma and certificate, I realized that I need to little broaden my horizon, because here there are so many restrictions which are binding me to go beyond, what I
Mm-hmm.
can do. So
Right.
thought of going to a better place where I can, get more opportunities to share what I have with me. So suddenly I got appointment. I got a call from BITS Pilani. So it was in
Wow.
Vidyapeeth, Birla Balika Vidyapeeth, and I'm a proper Delhiite, born and brought up in Delhi. And but at the core of my heart, my father genes were in me, being little adventurous. And so at that time, with my small child, I mean, hardly 2.5 years old, my daughter was, I thought of going to BITS Pilani. And I went over there, attended the interview, and I was selected, fortunately, and I joined. And
Right.
it was completely different world, working in a boarding school. It was completely different thing for people like me. So there I worked for 2 years. I learned a lot. I shared a lot. And that bonding, understanding the children when you are with them for 24 hours. Because I was
Yeah.
a house warden also.
Oh, wow.
Night I was going to the girls of my hostel. I was spending time with them, listening to them, helping them out. Then I
Yeah.
realized that children of this age need much, much more than just a teacher. They
Yeah.
want a friend, philosopher, and guide also in the teacher, and there could be no better person than a teacher to guide them. So though after those 2 years, my daughter was about to go to school, so I had to take a call whether I should stay there for the entire life or I have to come back to my own place. So I decided that I should
Yeah.
go to Delhi, because it was a little difficult for a Delhiite to stay out for a long time.
Yeah.
So I came back to Delhi. Then I worked in different schools in Delhi. Everywhere there was something new that I learned. Like when I was in Mahavira, I learned technology because that was a time when computers, in teaching had come. So a lot of technology based, teaching I learned from there.
Right.
Then I shifted to Guru Nanak School. Then I went to Saraswati, which was again a girls, school, where apart from just teaching language to the girls, I realized that there is much more to be taught to the parents because that
Yeah.
is the empowerment of the girls. Usually there were a lot of the minority girls were also there, and they used to get engaged when they were in class 10. They used to get married when they were in class 12,
Yeah.
after class 12. So it was not just teaching, rather it was more of being connected with them. I used
Right.
to go to their houses, convince their fathers, their mothers that please, I'm taking a responsibility. Please let her complete her studies, and that bond, that innocence and pure love of the children, that really
Yeah.
made me to work more and more for them. And then I worked as because my principal had retired, so I worked for as officiating, vice principal over there. Keep you when you gain experience, you get more responsibilities.
Very
So
true.
that post is not the thing, but a lot of experience that you get. And then finally, one fine day, I would say it's a kind of a story that I would say how I became a principal. I had never even thought in my dreams. So one fine day, I went to my daughter's school. She was in Springdales at that time. So there was a vacancy for English teacher. I went over there. I appeared for the interview. And to my surprise, the language expert, the subjects expert in that board was my own lecturer who has
Oh,
taught me
wow.
English. So he, I mean, recognized me. And when he looked at my resume, he said, Meenakshi, don't you think you are over, qualified for this post? I said, what? He said, you should have applied for vice principal or for principal. Why are you applying for PGT? That was the turning point in my life. I came back, though I was offered, but I didn't go over there. And then that was a point when I started thinking, shall I go for principalship? Because that by that time, I think 17, 18 years of my teaching
Right.
experience had completed. So then I had a conversation at my home, and everybody said, yes, you should go, especially my daughter. And then I applied, and this was the first school where I applied and got a call. And I came over here, gave the interview. There were, rounds of interviews and all that. And then I was offered this post. Again, I went back home and I asked, and especially my daughter, she was in class 10 at that time. So I said,
Hmm.
you imagine your mother has to give a lot of time to the school because this is a very
Yeah.
responsible post. I might be coming in the evening, late in the evenings, a lot of time. She said, please go ahead. I have no problem. And by that time, I had already completed my PhD. I was about to submit my PhD because, as I said, that
Hmm.
I can never give up, learning. So
Yeah.
let me just continue. After completing my MPhil from CPhil, then I had applied for the PhD and I was working on that.
Ma'am, you're an executive member of Global Inclusive Education Network. What is that about, and what is your role specifically?
So that's an organization which really actually works for the inclusive education, especially for the children who have special children. Those who there are policies by the government that we need to go the inclusivity in the education, and all the children,
Right.
whether they are gifted or they are special children, has to be brought to the mainstream. But usually, what happens, it remains on the paper. There are children in the class. We have special educator, and usually it happens ki now this is a special child, so the special educator will take care of them. And
Yeah.
most of the time, even the normal teachers do not even know what are the different kind of disabilities that these children.
Yeah.
There could be some cognitive, there could be some slow learner, there could be some clinical disabilities, which every teacher should know. The way the teacher, the kind of pedagogy the teacher is using, the kind of you can say the methods, the material, the assessment, how we have to completely work on that to make it a kind of an equity for every child in the class. So that
Right.
we are working on. And in my school also, I started it with my school. And then I got this opportunity to join this organization. And under that, we are giving lot of support to the schools who want some advices from us in that field. And we also go for the teacher workshops, uh,
Right.
so as to enable them to how to handle these children.
Ma'am, regarding there are, like you said, there are cognitive disabilities, there are clinical disabilities, and much more towards this. That's still a gray area to a lot of, people. Do our parents supportive, or do parents actually get educated in terms of, these things that are being coming up, and not just on papers, but actually realizing
Yes.
what is going on?
It's initially it is very difficult to make a parent realize or accept that the child
Yeah.
has some sort of disabilities. Especially in the junior classes, they will say, "नहीं नहीं मैम वो class में नहीं करता, घर पे सब करता है." So in
Hmm.
that way, so, and even for the lower IQ, even for the this autistic children, even for this retarding, mentally retarded children with the low IQ level, with learning disabilities, parents are not ready
Right.
to accept that. But what happens is that is why we say that we need to have a lot of parental orientation for that. So in the
Right.
beginning of the year, we start taking orientation of the parents and then identifying these children, then talking to the parents one to one rather than in a meeting together. So a lot of patience, a lot of time. And of course, there are a few cases who would not agree with that. Like if we have to tell them, you go and get the child, certificate from, a medical practitioner or
Hmm.
a person from a government hospital, so that CBSE has given a lot of leverage
Right.
to these children.
Right.
Not agree for that, initially. But when the child would reach in class 10th, then they would realize,
Yeah.
now please do something. So those cases are there, but I think the percentage has little decreased. A lot of
Yeah.
parents are also there who realize that this is the problem with their child. And also one thing is there, that there are certain children who have these, especially with the learning disabilities.
Right.
If you work on them over a period of 2 3 years, they come with the mainstream, so that can be cured, that can be worked upon.
Yeah.
But of course, when it is something related to the clinical thing, then we have to work accordingly.
Right.
And thanks to the technology, because
Yeah.
of technological aids are there which are really helping these children, those who have little hearing impairment or
Yeah.
impairment. They really, our computer room having a lot of softwares for them, and the teachers can take them over there. They work a lot, on them, and they learn a lot through them.
Mm-hmm.
So when the parents are called in the classrooms, we call the parents in the classroom, we call the parents in the our AV rooms, and we show them how we are
Mm-hmm.
helping these children out. So instead of making a child be a backbencher and getting very low marks, which is going
Right.
to hamper the self esteem of the child, it is better that we make the child little comfortable and make the learning a joyous thing for the child rather than a burden. So gradually, it is little difficult. I would not say little
Mm.
difficult, rather it's very difficult. But yes, change is coming. Still,
Yeah.
we have to put a lot of effort for that.
For the parents, especially the parents who are watching, what would be your tip or suggestion to actually identify? Like you said, the learning disabilities can be worked upon. It is something that which can be changed or gotten better, because lot of people, they realize it very later that there is some dyslexia that is going on. There is some ADHD that has been going on, or ADD. There's a lot of things that come later into the realization, and even for adults we get to know very late as to what was happening. And because a lot of them have become overachievers because of the pressure that was being put into. So what would be your advice for the parents to actually, there are these tips and advices that to look about or to check if this is what is going on, and to be accepted however the child is.
I would just say the parents that let the child live his or her own life. Don't try to interfere too much, because what happens many times, a child is not having any problem.
Hmm.
Even if you see a child who has a dyslexia, that is only one part of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, the child is a very good athlete, the child is a very good painter, the child is a very good singer, a dancer, the child has a very good memory, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are doing, that looking at one particular aspect, that the child is not able to attain good marks in the class, just because
Right.
the child has some problem in writing and recognizing the
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that is required for the parents is to come out from that rigid compartment of uh, you know uh, considering their children to be the realize tools to realize their own dreams. Matlab, I
Right.
score 90%, my child should score 100%. What I couldn't do in life, my child would do that in life. Let the child
Hmm.
live their own life. Number one. Number two, let them realize what are their potential. Instead of, a kind of what you say about approach towards life. People have negative
Right.
approach, they will just see what are the drawbacks. People have positive approach, they will see what are the plus points in a person. So let us first identify those things initially in the child. And third thing, be in constant touch with the teacher, because
Hmm.
teacher is qualified, she has been trained
Yeah.
to see those signs in your child, when the child is writing, when the child is behaving, when the child is the social emotional learning that the child is doing. The teacher is
Mm-hmm.
able to identify those things, and don't take teacher as your enemy, that she wants to label your child.
Yeah.
As a partner, whatever the teacher is asking you to observe, share everything with the teacher. What are your observations at home? And then, in sync with the school, try to work further. Don't take the things ki my child has been labeled, my child is not
Hmm.
like that. This is what I keep on telling parents. That, see, we have to work together. If your child is not performing well, if the child is not able to, maybe in the junior classes, children, if you ask them to recite a poem, or if you ask them to say something, respond, the child is not doing that. Now, it is not necessary the child has some problem or some disability.
Right.
Maybe the child is not in a mood.
Yeah.
So how to say that the child is having. So let the teacher identify, let the teacher observe. And the best thing for the parents is to share their observations at home. Spend
Mm-hmm.
time with the children, talk to them. When you will talk to them, you would come to know what are the problem areas which you are finding, whether the child is not able
Right.
to speak properly, some alphabets the child is not able to speak properly. For hearing and visual and all that, we understand that that's quite visible. But when
Yeah.
you talk about the cognitive things, what are the things, if you see the child is writing, Every time the child writes in the opposite direction. Why is it?
Hmm.
You just go and tell the teacher ki whenever he writes C, he writes in this way rather than this way. You know,
Yeah.
those are minute observations. The only mantra for the present generation parents is spend time with your children. That is the problem, that all are working. Both the mother and the father are working, and they
Yeah.
don't have time. And the only thing that they see is, okay, show me your notebook. Which grade? Did you get a star, or did you get a poor, or did you get a comment, or did you get, how many
Hmm.
marks did you get? So apart from that, don't get your children get indulge in the number game rather than
Right.
focus on their learning. If you find the child has facing some problem in learning, there is some issues in which the child is not able to learn properly or recognize properly or not able to understand the things properly. There is some problem in the comprehension. Share it
Hmm.
with teacher. Tell your experiences to the teacher. This is what happens at home. Then the teacher would be more cautious. She would be, because for small kids in the primary, in the KG,
Hmm.
KG, it is little difficult for the teachers
Yeah.
also initially to work on that. So, but if you will say that, teacher will become more cautious, she'll become more, focused in observing your child's behavior, and then with the help of, because every school has a special educator who are the
Right.
specialized people. There are certain tests which are available. There are certain, they have their own tools through which they can identify the problem, the area that they
Hmm.
so, so I would suggest that parents should be more observant, and they should have
Yeah.
a rapport with the teacher so that they can share the things and work on that.
Right. What would be three books that you would suggest to our audience?
The three most important books which are very close to my heart. First is the first book that I read in my college days, Sons and Lovers, D.H. Lawrence.
Sons
And
and Lovers.
second is Ignited Mind, Kalam's. And
Right.
the third one, I think Red Samadhi. Recently, I have just read it, because there are a lot of books. I would not say कि एक particular है, but yes,
Hmm.
Red Samadhi is the recent one that I read, and it's a really marvelous book which has won the award.
Yeah. I think this has been really, really great, ma'am. Really, I'm honestly telling you, these are the conversations that usually people do not have and needs to, these kind of conversations people really, really need to have. I'm really glad I got a, chance to speak to you, and it has been an honor, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was really so nice talking to you. It was, it rejuvenated myself while talking to such a beautiful youngster like you.
Thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you, ma'am. Really.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for your time. And I'm sure we'll get into more conversations
Sure.
regarding this and more to come. Thank
Sure.
you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank
Have
you.
a nice day.